All right, so we have the data capture rate set at 1. That's going to capture the last second or so of movement before the projectile exits the barrel. Good for things like checking if it's kicking back, if you've got a good hold, if it's moving when you're taking a shot, maybe if you're pulling a shot or you're flinching a little bit as well. So let's have a few different shots doing some different things, and we'll see what the data can do. Second shot, I'm going to hold it a little bit tighter in my hand to see if it makes a difference. For the third shot, I'll hold it really, really loose to see again if there's going to be any difference around that. And because we're Australian, we're going to do an Australian Special Forces particular technique that they use in the field. It's the upside down pinky shot. All right, so a couple of different things. Let's have a look at the data, see what results we actually get from that. All right, so we can see the 4 shots that we took up the top. We've got some different scores there. You can see that we've got scores on the x-axis, the y, and also the z-axis. So we can differentiate how good we are left to right, up or down, back and forth, and then we get some total scores there as well. Now you do get the regular quick statistics of minimum, maximum, average, spread, standard deviation of your current shot string and also your current speed. So if you get a dud shot and you don't shoot well, you're going to be able to see something here just to make sure that, hey, look, we're on the right sort of speeds there. So let's have a look. So we can see below we've got the graphs here. You'll have little legend icons for each of the 4 shots. It'll only show you the current shot in blue and the previous shot in gray. Otherwise the graphs just look too messy. There's a space at the side to be able to scroll as well as between the graphs. And you can zoom in on the graphs, pan around and zoom out. Hit the reset zoom button so we can see what's happening. So we can see the first shot, we got a score of 321. Our left to right was quite good. Our up and down, not as good, for a total score of 321. On the second shot, we held that a little bit differently, and we can see that it was actually a much, much worse score. We were moving a lot more left and right, moving more up and down, and also back and forth. So that second position, that second technique I tried with the grip was not good at all. The third, almost as good as the first, good on the X, much, much better on the Y, and the Z let us down, which is the kickback. It's a janky gun, that's to be expected, that sort of thing with the Nerf guns. Now the Australian Special Forces technique, we could see that ultra good left and right with the pinky technique, up and down, not as good, we need to practice that a bit more, and back and forth we got that reading. So let's have a look at some graph data here. So if we want to compare the first 2 shots, we select X1 and X2 on all the graphs. So we can have a look here. We could see that the movement X1, X2 was a big difference, and we can see that on the line here. We've got much, much more aggressive movements left and right. We can see the overlay. We're moving a heck of a lot more on that particular axis. And you can also see when you were doing that movement. It was at the start and at the end, so a second before the shot and up until the end of the shot was when we were doing a lot of the movement. In the middle, we were a little bit settled. And of course, you can see at the end of the shot, you normally have a nice big sharp spike when the pellet exits the muzzle. Up and down, we weren't too bad overall, and back and forth was quite good. Now, let's have a look at where we set the zoom there. We're going to have a look at the third and the fourth. So that's with the Special Forces technique there. Now, the third and the fourth, the x-axis, we were not too bad, much better on the second one, on the fourth and the third. Y-axis, a big difference there, and the Z-axis, some moderate difference. So let's have a look, and that's in terms of the scores. Let's have a look at the data. We could see that left to right, relatively smooth on the last shot. It was a little bit sharp, a little bit jerky here and there. What's interesting here on the Y-axis, look at where the lines are. And this is why we do that calibration. The first shot is around the 0 axis. However, when we're doing the Australian Special Forces technique, when it's upside down, you can see the line's not centered. What's important is that that does not affect the score. The score is based on your acceleration, your movement. However, if you are canting your shot, if you're not perfectly vertical, horizontal, you can still glean that information from here. You can see where you are holding it at what different position. Are you off center a little bit? You can see the data here, but it doesn't affect the score because the score is about your acceleration. Sharp, hard acceleration, you will get a very bad score. Smooth motion, low acceleration, you'll get a really good score. And finally, on the Z-axis down the bottom there, pretty much identical, not much of a change there. Having the data capture rate all the way down there at 1 is also good for testing things like accessories. If you've got a new bipod or a new rest, you can actually see, is your kit actually more stable? Is it moving about as much? So a really good way to test your form, but also things like accessories to see if they're doing what they should be, giving you a more stable platform as well. So that was doing a data capture rate of 1/3 of a second. We're now going to up it to the next bracket and see what we can do there.